I'm gonna be real transparent with y'all. I pay $2,600 a month to live in this townhouse. Now, to some of y'all, that's astronomical, and to some of y'all, that's not as much as you pay where you live. You know, if you were in like Miami or somewhere high profile in California, you probably pay a little bit more than that. We're not even going to talk about New York prices. But I was doing some studying and some number crunching, and I actually came to a very vivid realization. If I lived in a hotel or an extended stay, I would save over $1,000 a month versus if I lived in my own townhome or single family unit or whatever. Right now, currently, you know, it's just me and my kids, and it doesn't really sound horrible. In an economy like this, it's kind of like, yes, everybody, your TikTok friends who are living in hotels are actually geniuses.
Would you do it? Could you live in a hotel? I was taken aback to find out the number of people that have made this decision as a result of what the young man just said in the economy that we're in. If you could save $1,000 a month, $500 a month, more importantly, if you have a family, he said he has kids, do you think you can live in a hotel? Hi, my name is Robert, and on this channel, we simplify the home loan process.
So why do I choose to live in a hotel and not go out and rent an apartment? Well, first of all, call me a little crazy, but isn't a hotel pretty much a mini apartment complex? I mean, it kind of has the same structure, the same layout. I kind of look at it like they're mini apartment complexes. We don't need 2 bedrooms. I mean, honestly, it's me and my hubby. Sure, I could have went out and rented an apartment as long as I had 3 times the proof, 3 times the amount of their $1,600 a month rent, and that I had first and last month's rent, the security deposit, a background check, and the credit check. So, of course, after I hand them about $4,000, I could move on in, but then I would have to worry about utilities getting turned on. Power, water, trash, Wi-Fi. And no, I do not have to switch rooms every 28 to 30 days. Yes, I can get my mail here. And yes, if you have pets, you can bring them. It's going to be a pet fee unless it's a service animal. So yes, this hotel is pretty much my mini apartment. And it works for us.
She brings up some very valid points. I wrote them down here so I could stay on track. How do you feel about her concept of hotels being mini apartments? Another good point that she made was that it's just 2 of them, her and her husband, because the more space and the more stuff you have, the more expenses you have. That's a real thing. It makes me think about some of these folks that live on cruise ships as their homes once they retire or what have you. Don't think it's something that I could do, but again, is this something that's appealing to you? And then the biggest thing that she mentioned that a lot of people are having a hard time with is the amount of income you have to get into a home. 3 times the rent, got to have good credit, first and last, as far as the security deposit is concerned, application fees, if you have pets, those are all real things. So if you can't afford those types of things, I don't necessarily see this as a bad thing. Heck, it's just something that I never thought of. What do you think about the reasons or some of the amenities or benefits of living in a hotel that she mentioned? And then more importantly, what am I missing? What is she missing? What are some of the downsides that you could see potentially living in a situation like this?
So I have been living in hotels for the last 3 months, and honestly, do I like it? Yes. Does it work for me? Absolutely. And is it cheaper than the rent I used to pay with a full year lease in Michigan? Yes. Let me show you my place. First of all, I have this spectacular balcony. Now, other than that, I have a mini fridge that I can have all my things. I have AC. A full-size bed with lamps and a phone, room service, a desk and chair set up for my work, as well as a TV. And somebody was already signed into the Netflix on the TV, by the way, so no Netflix bill. I also have this full-size closet that has different things and a decent amount of space. I have my stuff here. And then a super cute bathroom. I also get maid service cleaning every day. A rooftop pool. Be so for real. In total, this cost me $900 monthly, so it's $30 a day. I pay every week, and I'm actually moving to another hotel that's like this, but even better at the end of the week.
These types of situations have to be tailor-made. Just if you were going to rent a house or own a home, to each his own. But again, they make some valid points. I'm just curious to know if you think $900 is a good value for what she just mentioned, and how do you feel about the maid service coming in and the room size? One thing I've noticed being blessed to be able to travel outside of the country, other countries' accommodations aren't as large as what we have here in America, what a lot of us have. And so more space equals more stuff, and it's self-inflicted situation where you feel like you always have to work because you keep buying stuff, right? Or you have to maintain things. So how do you feel about the room size, the rent? And I wonder if it's really less expensive because she mentioned moving to another place. So I guess it's how you look at it. To me, I like stability. I like the same routine, so on and so forth. But it looks like folks are starting to head that way.
So this is kind of a follow-up video to all the people in the last video that we made saying that they wouldn't live in a hotel and they don't understand why people will live in a hotel. Well, people live in hotels for different reasons, a lot of different reasons. One is they don't have a good credit score. They don't make a lot of money. They don't have money for a down payment. Rent houses and to buy a home is really expensive, and not everyone has that luxury. A lot of people stay here that have lost their housing and they need somewhere to stay. And so the best place to go is to a hotel. I mean, it's better than living in your car. Living in a hotel, they don't do credit checks. They don't do background checks, although sometimes I think maybe they should, but I'll just elaborate on that. And look, home is just where the heart is. Don't knock other people for doing it because you don't have to do it. This isn't a fad. It isn't anything new. People have been living in hotels for a long time. You just don't hear about it. So, and also elderly people, a lot of elderly people are moving into hotels because it's better than going into a home, and it's actually cheaper living in a hotel than it is like a nursing home. So, yeah. But if there's any more questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
She answered a lot of my questions and made a lot of very, very good points. I'll start with the latter. She's spot on with the elderly situation. I have experience with that, and these folks are getting anywhere from $10,000 and up to share a room. If you're getting private rooms, it could be a lot more expensive for those of the elders to prevent them from being outside. I think that's an excellent solution. It's just, I guess we always have thoughts in our minds just about the security and things of that nature. But if you're still mobile and you can get around and do those things and your income is fixed, I can see that. Secondly, everybody can't afford to live in a house. Sometimes we just take for granted where we are, and we may assume everybody's in that situation, and they're not. And then, like she said, never gonna knock where somebody's laying their head. And if that's you out there, if you're living in a hotel, hey, it is what it is. Home is where the heart is. You take care of your home. That's, where your shalom is at. And I pray that you do have peace wherever it is. And more importantly, you can afford it. One thing she did mention, I was kind of thinking of, so since she said it, there's no credit checks, there's no background checks. I guess that could be good. That could be a con too. I guess depending on your level or your ability to rent certain hotels, it's just like renting an apartment or living in a certain neighborhood. You might be exposed to certain things. Can you guys think of anything else that has not been said thus far? Because folks that come by and watch these videos, you'll be surprised. They may be on the fence, and this might be a very valuable resource for them to be able to get into some shelter and not have to be on the street, because I didn't know it was a thing. I thought people went to hotels for hotel reasons. This last video that we want to look at, say you've been in one of these situations and that's something that you don't want to do, and maybe you've lost hope. I want you to watch this next video to give you hope and to let you know that things can change, and there's people out here that have a testimony along those lines. Check it out.
After spending 27 years in prison, I spent a year at this hotel right here. And while I was here, the enemy tried to tell me I'd never go any farther than this. The enemy tried to discourage me, tried to tell me that this would be my residence for the rest of my life because I have a record, I have charges, that I would never go above this hotel. I would never live in an apartment. I would never live in a house. The enemy tried to discourage me along the way. He tried to make me believe that this was my final destination. When the enemy told me that I would never go past the hotel, God blessed me with an apartment at this complex. And that was just the beginning of what God had in store for me. I kept trusting God. God took me from where I was at to here. I continued to trust God to do exceedingly abundantly. A year later, God moved me from those apartments to these condos. The enemy told me I'd never own my own house. The enemy told me I'd never own my own car. Look what the Lord has done. And just like Joseph, I kept dreaming. And just like David, I kept watching over the promises of God. David was watching over the sheep, but I was watching over the promises that God had made me in his word. Here's the message. It's never where you start. It's always about where you end. Joseph started in the pit, but he ended up in the palace, second in command under Pharaoh. David started in the field, overlooked by his family, even by Samuel, the prophet, the man of God. But he ended up being the king. Somebody right now, you discouraged at where you at because you've been there a long time. I feel an unction from the Holy Ghost to encourage you today. No matter where you at right now, God is ordering your steps. God is still in control. He's sovereign. He's at the end of it all. When I didn't even know that God was working, he was working. Those 27 years in prison, God was building my character. He was making me into the woman, into the minister, into the person that he had called me to be. I never knew that being in the wilderness, that being in prison, it would shape me to be the woman that I am today, to have the strength that I have today. I want to encourage you to let the storms be the wind beneath your wing. Y'all be blessed now, you hear?
Amen. If you find yourself in this situation and this is not a situation that you want to be in, living in a hotel, renting a home, be a good steward. Keep referring back to the promises that if we do what we're supposed to do in the scriptures, he's not a man. God, Jehovah, is not a man that he should lie. Wherever you're at, be encouraged. Be encouraged. If I could be of assistance getting onto the property ladder, because I am a lender, my contact information is in the description of the video below. My time is up, but I thank you for yours. As I always say, let's be good to one another. Let grace abound. Watch these next 2 videos. It'll help you on your journey. And until the next time, indeed, y'all stay blessed.